All right. So here's the thing, man. When you talk about football at the highest level, there's nothing more unpredictable, nothing more intense than a European championship, because this isn't just some tournament. This is a battlefield where the strongest nations in the world come to prove who's really built for it. And the craziest part is we're still a few years away from Euro 2028, but you can already feel the energy building. You can see the storylines forming. You can look at these squads and say, holy shit, this is going to be nuts, because you've got young superstars about to hit their prime. You've got old legends trying to squeeze one last run out of their careers, and then you've got those underdog nations who are just waiting for their shot to shock the world. And that's what makes this whole thing so exciting. It's not just about tactics or statistics, it's about drama. It's about pressure. It's about who shows up when the lights are brightest. So buckle up, because what we're about to dive into is the early predictions of Europe's strongest teams, the rising powers, the rebuilds, the golden generations, and maybe even the dark horses that nobody sees coming. And I swear to you, by the time this tournament rolls around, it's going to feel less like football and more like a damn war movie. All right, listen, when people throw around this whole England's golden generation thing, they're not just hyping it up for clicks. It's actually insane how much talent is stacked in that squad right now, and how much more dangerous they're going to be by the time because you're looking at this mix of young killers who are already world class and they're just getting started, like Jude Bellingham. This dude is a freak. He's not only dominating at Real Madrid as a teenager, but he's playing with this confidence like he's been there for 10 years. And by 2028, he's going to be in that absolute prime window where the game slows down for him. But his physical peak is still there. That's scary. Then you've got Bukayo Saka. This guy is just ice cold. He steps up in big moments. He doesn't get rattled. He's fast, creative, disciplined. And you add someone like Phil Foden, who, man, he's silky smooth. He sees passes other people don't even think about. And these three guys alone could form the spine of a team that finally lives up to all the hype England's been carrying since forever. But it's not just that, because England has depth in every damn position. You've got Harry Kane, who might not be at his peak anymore, but by 2028, he's still going to be one of the most clinical finishers alive. Maybe a little slower, but way smarter, playing that veteran role, dropping deep, dictating play. Then there's the new wave of strikers and wingers coming up behind him. Kids like Cole Palmer, Anthony Gordon, maybe even someone we haven't even seen blow up yet, who's tearing it up in the Premier League by then. The fullbacks, man. England's got this crazy surplus. Trent Alexander-Arnold reinventing himself as this hybrid midfielder. Reece James if he stays fit. Luke Shaw. All these options that most countries would kill to have. And let's not forget the center backs, because traditionally England's always had that one weakness at the back. But with guys like John Stones bringing composure, young defenders like Levi Colwill stepping in, they could finally lock it down defensively too. And the keepers, Jordan Pickford's solid. But by 2028, you might have someone new rising, maybe Ramsdale, maybe another name out of nowhere. And here's the thing, this is all happening with home field advantage. Euro 2028 is literally in the UK and Ireland. That's massive. That's pressure, but it's also fuel. That stadium's packed with fans who believe this generation is the one. And if you've ever watched English football culture, you know how insane that atmosphere gets. So you put all this together, the talent, the youth, the experience, the depth, the home crowd, and what you're looking at is not just a golden generation. It's like a damn super team in the making. The kind of squad that could either cement itself in history or completely implode under the weight of expectations. And that's why everyone's so obsessed with this narrative, because the ceiling for this group is literally winning it all. When you talk about France and this whole depth and mentality thing, it's almost unfair, like they're playing a different game than everyone else, because no matter what year it is, no matter which tournament, you look at their roster and it's like opening up some cheat code in FIFA. There's just endless talent stacked on every line. You've got Kylian Mbappé, who by 2028 is still going to be in his absolute prime, like a freak athlete mixed with surgical finishing. And even if somehow he's not the same monster, you know there's another kid right behind him ready to explode. That's how France works. They lose one superstar and two more come out of the academy pipeline. And that's not just hype, it's a system. They've got this insane development culture, the Clairefontaine Academy. All these youth systems pumping out players like it's a factory, and you see it every time someone gets injured. Like one guy goes down and the replacement is just as good or sometimes even better, and that's where depth turns into this psychological advantage. Because when you're playing France, you know there's no weak spot. You can't just target their fullbacks or try to exploit the midfield, because every single backup is starting caliber for a top European club. And then you add the mentality, man, this is what separates them. Because talent can get you far, but mentality is what wins tournaments. And these dudes have been in the biggest games. Finals, penalty shootouts, World Cups, Euros. They've won, they've lost, but through all of it, they've built this mindset like, yeah, we belong here. This stage is ours. And that's terrifying if you're an opponent because they don't blink, they don't freeze. And you saw it in 2018 when they just steamrolled their way to the World Cup. And again in 2022 when they lost half their squad to injuries before the tournament even started and still made it to the final. Like, who does that? And that's mentality. That's cultural memory. That's a team walking into every tournament knowing they're supposed to be in the last game. And then you stack that with the sheer variety of weapons because they can play you physically with guys like Tchouaméni bulldozing through midfield. They can go slick and technical with players like Griezmann pulling strings. Then you've got center backs who are absolute monsters, fullbacks who overlap like wingers, goalkeepers like Magny stepping up after Lowers. There's literally no drop on. By 2028, this entire squad is just going to be more experienced, more ruthless. And the scary part is that there are kids in League One right now who nobody's talking about yet, and in 3 years they'll be the next stars because France never runs out of weapon. And when you combine that kind of depth with a battle-tested mentality, you're basically looking at a team that's always one step ahead no matter who they play. Germany's rebuild is one of those stories that's so fascinating because it's not just about football, it's about culture and this weird DNA they've got where even when they're down, you know they're never really out. Like, look, after they won the 2014 World Cup, they kind of went into this weird slump, crashing out of group stages, struggling to find that old machine-like efficiency. And people started talking like the German era was done, but that's the thing. History tells you never ever count them out because they've always got another generation coming. And that's exactly what's happening now. You look at Musiala, this kid is insane. He plays like he's got ice in his veins, dribbling through defenders like it's nothing. And then you add Florian Wirtz, who's just pure creativity and vision. Those two together could become the foundation of a whole new attacking philosophy. Then there's Kai Havertz, who's been a little inconsistent, but by 2028, he might finally hit that balance between talent and maturity. And you've got these young defenders like Schlotterbeck and Raum stepping up. Plus the goalkeeping situation where even after Neuer fades out, you've still got guys like Ter Stegen, or maybe even a new wave keeping that German tradition alive. And what makes this rebuild so interesting is that Germany isn't just swapping players, they're rethinking the whole style because for decades it was about that robotic, efficient, structured systems, relentless pressing, and then after the failures they started looking at Spain's creativity, France's athleticism, England's youth movement, and they've been blending that with their own identity. So you're seeing this hybrid Germany form, still disciplined, but way more fluid, way more technical. And by the time Euro 2028 hits, all these kids are going to be in their prime, battle-tested and ready to prove a point because nothing fuels Germany like humiliation. And those early exits stung hard. That's a scar on their ego. And if there's one thing you know about German football, it's that they respond to scars by building juggernauts. So you mix this young generation with the institutional knowledge of veterans like Kimmich, Gundogan, maybe even Miller if he's still around in some role, and you've got this perfect storm of youthful energy and old-school German steel. And on top of that, they're hosting Euro 2024, which is basically like a dress rehearsal for this whole rebuild. So by 2028, they're not just experienced, they're dangerous. Germany at a big tournament is like a horror movie villain. You can knock them down, you can think they're gone, but they're always going to rise back up, and this rebuild is just the latest evolution of that story. Spain's young core is just wild to think about, because you're watching this new wave of kids who are basically carrying the weight of an entire footballing legacy on their backs. And instead of cracking under it, they're embracing it like Pedri. Man, that dude plays like he's been controlling midfields for 20 years. His composure, the way he just dictates tempo, it's insane for someone that young. And then you add Gavi, who's like the polar opposite in style, but exactly what Spain needs. He's scrappy, aggressive, fiery, the kind of guy who's in your face every second, tackling, pressing, biting at your heel. And when you put those two together, it's like this yin and yang. One's the artist and the other's the warrior. And then you throw in Lamine Yamal, who might be the scariest of the bunch teams, because this kid at 16 is already doing things against grown men in La Liga that most players never figure out. He's fearless. He takes people on. He creates chaos, and by 2028, he could literally be one of the best players in the world. And what's crazy is that Spain doesn't stop. They've got all these young defenders coming through. Alejandro Balde bombing up the left flank, Pau Cubarsí showing that calm, elegant defending that feels way beyond his years. And that's the backbone of a team that could dominate for a decade. What makes it even more dangerous is Spain's identity hasn't gone anywhere. The whole tiki-taka DNA, the short passing, the positional play, it's still there, but now it's evolving, because these kids aren't just possession robots. They've got flair. They've got unpredictability. They've got that edge. Like you can tell they grew up watching Messi and Ronaldo and Neymar. So they mix that traditional Spanish control with this modern explosiveness. And by the time Euro 2028 hits, all of them are going to be fully developed, stronger, sharper, mentally tougher, because they're already getting tested in the Champions League, in El Clasicos, in international tournaments. And you can feel the hunger, like Spain went from dominating world football with Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, PK, all those legends, to kind of fading. And now this new generation is like, yeah, it's our turn. And that chip on their shoulder is real. They don't just want to compete. They want to bring Spain back to being the scariest team in Europe. And when you've got a midfield core that young and that talent backed by defenders who play like veterans and attackers who aren't scared of the spotlight, you're staring at a group that could absolutely explode into dominance. And the craziest part is they're still kids. So imagine what they'll look like when they hit and walk into Euro 2028 like it's their playground. The whole concept of dark horses in a tournament like Euro 2028 is what makes football so damn exciting. Because yeah, you've got your Englands, Frances, Spains, those obvious juggernaut, but every single major tournament there's always that one team that sneaks in under the radar. Everyone underrates them. And then suddenly they're in the semifinals shocking the world. And that's the chaos factor. That's what people live for. So if you're looking at 2028, the list of potential dark horses is crazy. Like Portugal without Ronaldo might actually be more balanced, because instead of forcing everything through one guy, they can unleash this insane depth they've got with guys like Rafael Leão tearing up defense, João Felix finally figuring out his role, Bruno Fernandes dictating from midfield, and then they've got a defense with guys like Ruben Dias, who are absolute rocks, so you can easily see them going deep, even if people underestimate them. Then there's Belgium, who, let's be real, everyone thought their golden generation was over. But they've still got players like De Bruyne, maybe on his last legs at that level, but still one of the smartest playmakers in the world. And then a new crop of younger talent coming through. So if those guys click at the right time, they could finally break their curse and surprise people. And then you can't forget teams like Denmark, because these dudes are warriors. They don't have the biggest names, but they've got this crazy team spirit. They press, they fight, they grind. They've already shown they can punch above their weight in big tournaments. Croatia too, man. They've been the kings of overachieving. And even if Modric is gone by then, you just know they'll have some fearless midfielders ready to step up and carry that tradition. And that's the thing with dark horses. It's not about having the deepest squad or the biggest stars. It's about timing, momentum, and belief. Like one penalty shootout win, one late goal, and suddenly they're running on pure adrenaline. It rattles the big teams who weren't expecting them to be there. So when you look ahead to Euro 2028, you can already feel there's going to be one of those stories, one of those underdog runs that grabs everyone's attention. And honestly, that's the magic of football, because the heavyweights might own the headlines, but the dark horses, they own the heart of the tournament. And when they start knocking out giants, that's when things get real. So when you step back and look at all of this, it's just wild, man. Because you've got England sitting there with this so-called golden generation ready to finally break the curse. You've got France, who are just stacked like some kind of footballing Avengers with depth for days. Germany putting their whole identity through a rebuild that could make them terrifying again. Spain with these kids who are already playing like veterans. And then the dark horses lurking in the shadows ready to crash the party. And that's the beauty of a tournament like Euro. It's not just football, it's storylines, it's pride, it's heartbreak. It's legends being born and giants being humbled. And honestly, that's why we love this game. Because no matter how many predictions we make, the game itself always finds a way to shock us. And that's the juice. That's the raw unpredictability that keeps us glued to it. So good luck to all the teams. Good luck to the players chasing history. And thank you to everybody who rides this roller coaster with me, because at the end of the day, we're all just fans chasing that feeling. And Euro 2028 is going to give it to us in ways we can't even imagine.